She said that in the chat.
And we're live. Welcome back, Yogapreneurs, to the Weekly Roundup. First Weekly Roundup of 2023. We made it. We're officially into years of where I feel like they were just sci-fi in my mind when I was a kid. Oh, hang on. Oh my gosh, I'm hearing myself. Here we go. Okay, I think we're still going good. So let's jump right in. I mean, futuristic is where we're at. And one of the things that has been coming up, I'm going to the Yoga Expo tomorrow. We will be there in Pasadena. So if you missed those posts, go find the posts in the network here, because we did have like 30 free tickets that we got for everybody. I had to negotiate that pretty heavily. On the other hand, I am not 100% sure if all of those tickets have been used yet. So you have to go and check that. But in any case, go and check, see if that's happening. Grab a ticket, come meet us there. We're doing some coaching sessions at our booth. I'll be speaking on stage a little bit about the state of the industry, about sales, everything else. But since launching the fact that we're going and having these coaching sessions there, we were 100% been booked out for over a week now, but we'll still be able to talk with you guys, obviously, at the booth. Yeah, just finding the link here still okay as well. The conversation that's come up has been around coaching itself for 2023, where it's like we're at such a weird time. And a lot of coaching, people have made this complaint to me a few times, not about us or any of the coaches, but about coaching in general, that like a lot of coaches feel suddenly outdated in the industry. And it's because, honestly, a lot of things have changed. And somehow, again, we've gone through in the last like 6 months, like some pretty massive fundamental shifts in the way you would approach certain business elements, especially when we're talking about from the customer perspective and what those expectations actually are. So with that all being said, the big thing that I would sort of point out right now around coaching is that coaching versus consulting are two separate things. We are coaches, not consultants. And the major difference is a consultant says, here's this stuff that I know, or here's what I see, and they consult on, you should go and do these things. Rather than coaching is, here's what we know is proven, not only in the businesses that we had, but in each other's businesses as coaches, in the training that we've done and how that's been implemented in other businesses. And at this point, we're at like hundreds of yoga studios that have implemented some of this stuff. And that we know works like right now today. So when you do coaching, I really think that one of the things to pay attention to, and this is on the Healthy Studio infographic as well, is that like coaching falls into a continuing education category where it really is part of the reinvestment into your business. So we always just had a 2 to 3% of gross revenue budget that was just allotted for this purpose. It was for coaches, for mentors, for like these continuing education trips, conferences, whatever. And what I'm seeing happen now is that people are participating in that stuff a little bit less in the last couple of years, mostly to no fault of anyone's, but just because of this, like things have shifted, it's hard to figure this out. So I just wanted to come on and just straight up be like, 2023, Carol still has some spaces available. Teresa here has a couple of spaces available. Like we still have a few coaching slots available. We are going to be changing the formulation of our coaching program, which will come with it a little bit of a price increase just because of how it's formulated. But currently that hasn't happened. So now's a good time to start. And brass tacks, when it comes down to it, with our coaching, the minimum goal is to 10x any investment. We see that anyone who does coaching for 6 months or more sees a minimum 20% growth in their business. But it comes down to a simple equation. If you get 5 more people in your business through your coaching with one of the coaches, then you are net profitable from the whole situation. And the residual effect over the long run couldn't possibly be overstated. So I just want to put on the table, a lot of you guys have joined in the last 6 months to a year here, been part of the network, been asking a lot of really great questions about things. If you've been thinking about coaching, I know it's like the busy time of the year, but like right now is actually the time to start, because now is the time to get everything in order, because the industry is about to boom in a way that we haven't seen in a while. It's still not going to hockey stick. I still don't think that that's what's going to happen. It's just going to keep doing this nice, strong climb. And in that, though, there will be more businesses. Here's my prediction throughout the next year. There will be more businesses that are kind of just falling off and getting left behind during this industry climb. And those businesses are the ones that are going to attempt to operate how they've always operated. We're just in a totally new era of operation now, and we've got to get some of the shit in order. So there's my appeal to you guys. If you haven't done coaching yet, get in. You start with the free coaching call. Kay posted the link down below. Start with the free one. It's not like some big pitch or janky, whatever. It's literally just a free coaching. So you get to have a feel for what it's like with your coach and how that works. And I think that you'll be surprised how empowering it is to have someone else who is in your corner, fighting with you, helping with your accountability, keeping you organized, and you get the hive mind of our entire coaching team behind the scenes as well, working on your business.
And I wanted to throw in too, Josh, that, you know, you mentioned budgeting for it. And so I always feel like marketing and things like coaching are two things that need to be added to a budget, but really frequently are not. And they're two things that people think that I don't have money to spend there, and I'm going to try and make it through without it. But it's also that thing where, and you kind of just alluded to this, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you've got. Yeah. And so there has to be a change at some point. And those are really smart investments to build into your budget that can really change your business, that if you hold back and have that scarcity mindset, then you're not going to grow. It just, you'll stay where you are. So yeah.
You're triggering for me. I had a mentor years ago, and she was probably one of the most influential or powerful mentors I ever had in business. I mean, specifically, she was a yogi, but really she was a business mentor. And she said it like this, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but it's a bit harsh, but true. There's no such thing as not budgeting for something like education, mentorship, coaching. Mm-hmm. All there is not spending money on it now until you get to the point where it's an emergency, and then you're just going to spend all the money that you would have spent, because then you're going to have the pressure of time. And in order to have somebody who's good and fast, it's going to cost a lot. Right? It's like the old adage,
why didn't I do this?
Should have just been doing it the whole time. Yeah, exactly. And I've firsthand experienced that many times. And so I totally get it. But the point is, just starting the new year, if you've been thinking about coaching, jump on a free coaching call. The most important thing is we're straight up in the YC, like we're on a very specific mission with coaching. And the mission is this: we want to help 1,000 studios reach 30% more profit by the end of 2025. We've got a tally going. So like, it's happening. You're either on board or not. So, anyways, I digress. Let's jump into a little bit more practical stuff. The good news is, and Teresa, you were alluding to this, we are seeing industry growth starting to happen. The January rush, I don't know if that'll ever happen the same way it did way back in the day, but we are seeing and hearing across businesses some uptick. What are you seeing or hearing there, Teresa?
Yeah, that we were chatting about it earlier, like you said, that I am starting to see that. And there's a lot of excitement around it, but the first few days of January, not so much, but then really this week and towards the end of this week, especially, it's just starting to really feel a little bit more like those Januaries, not completely like it, like Josh just said, but a lot more like the Januaries, like pre-COVID. And so I'm seeing it in most of my clients' schedules, and even in the studio where I teach, there's just some excitement building and some bigger class numbers, and more like the classic January kind of feel is really starting to happen, which people thought was going to happen last year and it didn't. And so it's really exciting, I think, to see that. And so now what?
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling too that people are just getting not back. It's like in a new way, actually. I think that would be my recommended approach right now. I don't feel like it's like we're getting back to normal, like that kind of conversation. I feel like has subsided, and almost that's a positive thing. What is back to normal? So I don't like the new normal thing either. It's just like pretty clean slate. We're starting fresh. It's January. People want to feel good.
Yeah.
We're there. So I guess the question that's coming to mind for me, how do people double down? Like if you're right in, Kay just put in the comments here, Kay's lost her voice, so you'll notice she's not jumping in as much, but she's going to participate through chat on our side. People's priorities are different. They're trying to solve for stress over weight loss, for example. Yeah. Yes, we're definitely seeing that. So that actually is a perfect example, Kay. The question is, and what you're already sort of half answering in my mind, how do you double down on the fact that like this is the busy time? And let me back up and say this. Throughout the years, it has kind of blown my mind how often we've had to convince studio owners, not so much anymore, but we've had to convince studio owners that in January, February, March, if that's when you're the most busy, that's when you push the hardest. That's when you market the most and advertise the most and have the most stuff going on. And it's usually been the reverse, where it's like, well, I'm busy anyway, so I don't want to spend marketing advertising dollars then. And then I'll wait and do it like more into the spring and into the summer when I'm slower. But it's that saying that we have in the YC, you don't market when you're slow to get busy. You market when you're busy so that you don't get slow. So we're in the like theoretical busy moment here. So what do you do to double down on the fact that we're seeing this uptick? What could you do to push like real time right now? Teresa, do you have any suggestions?
Well, if you haven't put marketing into your budget, it's a good time to put marketing into your budget. So just like we were just talking about, and just like you just said, what are ways that you can put forward marketing efforts? Like we were just talking a little bit about Facebook ads or social marketing ads or Google ads, things like that. Is a good place to start, right?
Yeah. Actually, I did a webinar yesterday, and that was the question came up for straight up digital advertising. What would you prioritize? What would you prioritize? Like right now, if it's me with the yoga studio, Google search ads are number one. And then right behind it, Facebook/Instagram. And I'm going to do something different on those, but I would have both of those running, but especially Google search. Like people who are searching on Google, they're actively looking for whatever they're typing in. So they're already in a state of decision. Like they've already made some decision. You just want to appear right then. One of the follow-up detail that I can give you guys on this too is then the question is, well, what are you advertising and where are you sending people? Like the whole funnel is what makes those successful. So there's sort of two ways to approach this in my mind. One is if content is king, cool, but context is God. So if I've typed in beginning yoga classes, then the ad needs to talk about beginning yoga classes. And when I click, I need to go somewhere that's talking about beginning yoga classes. If I put in advanced level 2 vinyasa flow classes, that's an extreme example, then an ad that says beginning yoga classes is incongruent, right? Like even if the ad's there and being served up to me and you're a yoga studio and I'm clearly looking for yoga, it's not speaking to specifically me, the person doing the searching. So you want what your ad is saying to be congruent with the search that's been done. And same thing on the other side, if I click the ad and I go to the destination, a landing page or whatever, that should also have messaging that is congruent with whatever the ad was about. So that's sort of like bucket number one for Google Ads. Number two, and notice what I'm saying there, none of that has to do with an offer. None of that says buy our intro 30 days for $50. Like, straight up, what we see is that doesn't work. Like it works at such a low percentage that it's not worth it, almost. The exception, there's a big exception, is if you have such an insanely irresistible offer that I would feel stupid not taking it. So then you got to just gut check, and I'll give you the answer already. As soon as I have to pull my credit card out, it's no longer an irresistible offer in the yoga industry anymore. So we're talking about free. And I'm not one to say like give yoga away for free, but like from a lead generation standpoint, if I'm going online and typing in hot yoga near me and a bunch of ads come up and one says like best hot yoga studio, 25 hot yoga classes a week, hot yoga classes for beginners, and yours says first week free for hot yoga, which one are you clicking? Like, even if you go to the other ones, you're always going to click on, or most people are going to click on the first week free one. At least the curiosity alarm's going to be like, what is that? I got to check it out. So if you're going to do an offer, it kind of has to be a free thing. So that if you're doing an open house or you're going to do a first class free or something like that, like now would be a good time to have that running. Yeah.
And Kay mentioned taking photos and videos of your community, capitalizing on the excitement, getting pictures of happy people. I always say anytime you're shooting video or taking pics of your clients, try and have them smile. And so especially in beginner friendly poses and not all looking like the stereotypical yoga type, right? So making sure that you have all kinds of different people at different levels in your images and videos of your ads and website even too. And then, if you have a lot of newbies, it's a good time to do this. She mentioned it as well. Yeah. I had a thought too, because I was just talking about Facebook ads with a client yesterday, actually, and they have, a lot of my clients have been reached out to by Facebook consultants, and they will do a few free sessions with you, so anytime that's happened with any of my clients, I'm like, yeah, do it, because they know how the ads run better than anyone else, right? And it's a smart move for Facebook, Instagram, for Meta, it's Meta, because, people will run more ads if they feel more comfortable doing so and feel like they know what they're doing, because they change things so often that oftentimes people don't know what they're doing when they're trying to run their own ads. And a lot of people have been in the mindset that, your ad needs like 2 weeks to get going, and, the length of time an ad runs is always a question. And my client's Facebook consultant said, like 3 weeks tops, and pull it down, because then people will keep seeing it and just hide it because they're sick of seeing the same thing all the time. So she was telling her to switch it out every 3 weeks or so. And so I thought that was a really useful tip, because so many times with like email automations, anything we automate, we get in this mindset where you set it up and then that's it. You let it go and it goes and goes and goes, but you have to revisit that stuff, right? So you have to switch out the ad, you have to freshen up your automations, things like that. And I think a lot of people set up an ad, turn it on, and just leave it. And that's maybe not the best thing to do.
Yeah, I think you're alluding to, there's these phases of any element of your business where first you're contemplating the strategy to accomplish the outcome, then you're implementing the strategy, but then that's usually where it stops. Then the next thing is like, now you have to optimize the strategy.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's how you grow a business, really. It's less likely that your business is going to grow drastically at a certain point because you do some massive new thing that has such an insane impact that it grows a whole bunch. That's possible. But like what's more likely is that you have optimized the things that are working and then you do them at higher scale. You do more volume of them. So the ads are a great example of that, where it's like if you get one ad up and going and it's working, cool. But then once you have a formula that's working for that and a good target audience, then you do 10 ads. So if I'm running 10 ads and you're running one, in theory, who's going to get a better result? Everything else aside. So it's a volume question there. I would echo what you're saying with ad burnout is what we're talking about. And when you run ads in a brick and mortar yoga studio, like localized audience, that is a concern because your total audience volume is smaller. Like even if you're just wide open audience marketing, in a 5-mile radius around your studio, for most studios, you're looking at like 100,000 people, 200, maybe 300. That's your, service size or whatever.
Yeah.
So you do have to keep it fresh. Although I would slightly disagree with the like every 3 weeks part that Facebook recommends. I think that first, before I'd worry about like pulling an ad down and putting a new one up, in terms of the ad copy itself and the ad video itself, you might pull the campaign down, but rerun the same video again, but you would change the audience targeting, or you would change the budgeting on it, or you would change the wording on it, or you would re-edit the video, but you don't have to recreate the entire thing again.
Yeah.
Would be my suggestion. And then the second thing is, if you have one ad going and I'm starting to burn out from it, that's where you just need another ad saying something else that gets served up to me. So one of the things you can do in targeting, we're getting a little technical here, but you can have an exclusion audience in Facebook. So you can say, anyone who has watched this ad, do not, that group, show them this one. Or you would say, anyone who has watched this ad, exclude them from seeing it again. So you know that it's like legitimately fresh eyes. It won't be perfect, but 90% perfect with Facebook. That they're not getting served up that same ad again. Or there's even a frequency setting. You can say no one's allowed to see this ad more than 3 times. Like I want them to see it 3 times, but not more than that. So there are some ways to mitigate that. The reason I say that is this small audience, when we're talking about marketing from a brick and mortar studio standpoint, one, it's a lot of effort to always have brand new fresh campaigns going, but also because of your smaller audience size and because you're localized, you're trying to have like pretty high frequency in front of people, and your targeting is generally going to be just kind of wide open. Like we don't really put any detailed targeting, especially with Facebook now. Yeah. The whole like interested in yoga or drives in this car, male or female, even age bracket. Like I would probably not run any of that. Just leave it wide open and let people interact with it, because there's just not enough volume of people otherwise. So cool. We could do, I mean, it's time for us to do a refreshed Facebook ads course and stuff like that. We'll definitely be doing something like that pretty soon here. Comment down below if you're watching this. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads. What's the one that you're like, I want to do a course on this. I want to walk through every step, every click, get something up and running. I'm super interested in that. I need to do it ASAP. Let us know what you're looking for. We'll be doing them anyways at some point, but like, what's the priority? Where's your head at with that sort of stuff? One thing, going back to what Kay mentioned, and then also taking us in a little bit of a different direction that this is actually mentioning. When you're advertising, you have a wide audience, then you might have the thought, well, but that means I'm going to serve my ad to a group of people who are not interested in what I have. And you are correct. That is exactly what's going to happen. But the algorithm will optimize it towards people, how they interact and react with your ad. But this actually, I would say, and I did a video on TikTok yesterday about this too, that like, I think that the old way of niching down when it comes to brick and mortar businesses, especially, I think that it's not true anymore. Like, and the reason I say that is it used to be that we really focused on demographics, sociographics, psychographics. So we used to say like, who's your client avatar? My client avatar is a woman aged 35 to 45 who lives in this area, who has this income, who likes Mac computers and is interested in fitness and yoga, or like likes Lululemon, right? Like we would like really narrow it down. And the drill of doing that is the idea of like understanding your client. But I honestly just don't think that that serves a yoga studio anymore, and a lot of businesses, because the antithesis of that is yoga for everybody, which you guys all know I think is the worst marketing statement for a yoga studio to make. No knock on anyone. We all did it. I had it on my first studios we were managing too. But because it's too generalized and generic. But it's the idea that like we would accept anyone into the class, but then we're like making these avatars and niching down to this really hyper specific person. So I think that the new way that you do this is through the problems that you solve for people, how you help them achieve specific goals that they want, and the aspirational identity that you're helping somebody become. That's actually how you're creating your niche, is by really being able to clearly articulate to your market, these are the specific problems that we absolutely solve. If you have these goals, we will help you achieve them. And this is the person that you're going to become when you do it. It's the transformation. That way, it doesn't matter male, female, young, old, this, that, whatever, like totally irrelevant. I either just resonate with that message and want to participate in it or not. And that's realistically, that's actually who's in a yoga studio. We all know that. Community is not based on one specific type of person. It's pretty varied in most cases.
And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how things have kind of changed, because I think that even more so now, people are looking for help with problems that they have. And so, it's not necessarily just looking to come to a yoga studio to get in shape or lose weight, but like Kay had mentioned in the chat earlier, stress, looking for help with stress and looking for help with other things in their lives too. Even mentally, where before that wasn't necessarily the case. And so, yeah, really going back to what problems can you help them solve? It's not all just weight loss and get in shape and, socializing anymore. People want help with their problems and seem to be more apt to asking and seeking out ways to solve their problems nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And also, we're at a time where there's been a lot of friction and cultural tension, especially, the world over, around the ideas of exclusivity or inclusivity. And every studio out there has inclusivity on their charter of core values or whatever. But the question is always what are you doing to actually make that happen? But I think one of the ways, very simplistically, that you can be very inclusive is to change this idea of client avatar and niching altogether. I don't really care who you are. You're welcome at the studio. Here's the problems I solve. Do you have that problem? Great, let's do it. That's what I care about. And we'll figure the rest of it out, kind of thing. So I think that approach will already resonates very heavily, but I think moving forward will resonate more. People will see that that's the kind of place that's more magnetic, because they're just focused on the real value that they're offering the world rather than who they're specifically targeting.
Yeah.
I think practically, go ahead, Teresa.
I was just going to say, and what do you do differently? Because you brought up the point that, tons of people have stuff about inclusivity on their website right now. So you want to think about those messages that you're putting out. Sure, you want to include that, but what makes you different? Everybody's doing that now. So what makes you different than the other people in your area? You can solve these problems, but then we also do it in this way, which no one else does. Right.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think, part of differentiation is the uniqueness of your offer, your core product, what you do. So, the example being, we have a heated room, or we follow this specific lineage or formula, or our teachers, we don't just say we have the best teachers. Every teacher has a minimum 500 hours of training plus 10 years of experience. Those things are differentiating. But honestly, from the mind of the consumer, I think one of the things that's more differentiating is social proof, and the person who just can create the most clarity in my mind about the value they offer. So every yoga studio says, we're great, we have a great community, and you're going to feel good doing yoga and make your life better. So then the question is don't just say that. Be more detailed, take a specific angle on it. And I think the example that I used before is, and I can always forget who it is, but there was a beer company in the 1920s and 30s, right pre or post prohibition sort of thing, that ran a 3-page advertisement in this paper in the south of the United States. And all it did is they walked through how exactly they make beer. We pick these choice hops from here, and then we get this and we make this mash, and then we do this fermentation and this, and it's called a bottom fermentation because it's an ale that we make. They literally just described the process of making beer, which is the same way everyone made beer, but no one had ever run an ad doing that. So even though there wasn't really a difference between them and everyone else, their business exploded from this because they owned the clarity around why they were special, and they created differentiation by just telling why their product was good and the way that they did it. So it's sort of a slightly comical example. And you'll notice now in beer advertisements, there's only two types of ads in beer. It's either here's the lifestyle person who then cracks the beer, or it's this is how we make our beer and why it's better because we have choice this and special premium that. Those are the only ads that exist for beer. There's literally nothing else. So I digress. The point being, for differentiation, it goes back to problem awareness would be the first thing. So practical application of this and how do you differentiate? I would create high volume, and you could literally do this like right now, this week, today sort of thing. I would create a high volume of content around the problems that you solve. And I would just pick maybe your top 3 major ones and be more repetitious about those and talk about them from different angles and talk about how exactly you solve them and talk about why you solve them in this way and talk about why they matter and how they impact someone's life. Like just own the conversation around those 3 problems in your local market and you will be differentiated. And also you'll have a huge volume of content going out there, which keeps you top of mind for people.
Yeah.
Other note, problem awareness versus symptom awareness. These are two, the symptom and the problem are not the same thing. So the symptom is, I have a sore back. And they might even say, like, what's your problem? My problem is my back hurts. But the symptom is my back hurts. The problem is my hamstrings are tight and my body's misaligned. Or the symptom is I'm stressed. The problem is I don't have breath control. I don't have meditation or introspection. I don't have time to myself or relaxation. So when you start to talk about the problems that you solve in this way, you talk about the real underlying core problem, which your own students may not be able to articulate. You say, this is the symptom, but the real problem is this. This is why you have that symptom. This is the real problem. What happens is you're demonstrating your authority because you clearly understand the issue even better than I myself understand it, even though I'm having the issue. And if you understand the problem better than me, I automatically, this is like a psychological kind of trick almost. If I understand the problem better than you, you automatically assume I have the solution to it. So again, differentiation in the market. Everyone else is saying get flexible. But if you tell me what's the symptoms of inflexibility, why the methodology of how you do gain flexibility matters, and why flexibility is actually so powerful, then even if everyone else is talking about gain flexibility, like you're the authority on it, you win, you're differentiated.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really good point. And the example you gave is a good place to start, picking something like that. You know, like everyone talks about benefits of yoga. Well, pick one, like gaining flexibility, and then where can you take it from that? You know, why, and then just like what you just said, why is it flexibility is important? Why do I need flexibility? What problems can it cause if I don't have it? And, you know, what problems can it solve if I get more flexibility, if I get more flexible? So you can just pick one benefit and then just build from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, when we're talking about problem solution is what we're talking about, like flexibility. Inflexibility is, I know that that's a weaker example at this point than for what people are really looking for, but it's a good one because it's been so historically in the yoga world. But inflexibility isn't a problem for a lot of people. Like for some people, they're going to come in and be like, I'm inflexible, like I can't touch my toes, or I want to gain flexibility. But it's kind of not that sexy because I don't know, like I'm a pretty stiff dude right now, especially. It's not really negatively impacting my life on the day-to-day in such a massive way, not at this point. So if we start selling to the idea of like not being flexible, like inflexibility is the problem, that probably won't resonate. So flexibility in this case is actually the solution. And really when we say flexibility, we mean mobility, because flexibility is irrelevant. Mobility is relevant. So then it's like, well, what is immobility and what's the actual problem, or what's the actual symptom that people, that's why we're talking about, like, you don't need to change what you're talking about and take a whole new approach to what you're sort of selling on, the problems that you solve. It's just talking about it deeper, talking about it from another angle, making me understand it in a deeper, stronger way. That's really where you build, I think, a lot of conviction around the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, only the two of us today. Anything else on your mind, Teresa? I've got one more thought and then we can sort of start to wrap up here a little bit.
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered everything, just
covered our major January stuff.
yeah. And just really embrace, if you do have more people coming in this January, really embrace that and work on things. What can you do to keep the momentum? Like we just talked about, focusing on marketing, making sure that you're creating relationships with all of those people, all of those new people that are coming in. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I had the thought, someone sent me an email who I hadn't spoken to in a long time. And they just said like, hey, it's January 4th. This is a few days ago. Despite my planning at the end of last quarter, like I'm finding myself in January and just being like frozen and not knowing what to do. Like, just what do I do next, sort of thing. So the simple answer is like, teach great yoga classes and offer great customer service, and go online and talk about how great your yoga is every day. Like that would be a pretty simple answer. But I was thinking about this more from formulaically, how to audit yourself. So if you're feeling lost, like you have no idea what to do, education is probably the solution. Getting some education around what do we need to do next, having a second set of eyes on it, education, coaching, mentorship. If you're educated and you know what you need to do, then the solution is implementation. We're in the era of AI, which is like, I don't even know if we open that conversation up, because I could go for 3 hours. Like it's insane what we're seeing right now, and what's going to happen next will fundamentally change how all business operates forever. So that comment aside, knowledge isn't power. Access to knowledge will no longer be powerful, because up until this point, that's been part of it. It's the people who are able to take the knowledge and implement it, to actually enact it. That's where the power is going to come from. So if you're lost, get educated. If you're educated, implement. Don't go find more education or look for the new sexy whatever. Implementation. If you're implementing and you don't know what to do next, once you're implementing, don't stop implementing. In fact, stay the course, be more resilient, be more consistent, perfect the implementation, scale up the volume of how much implementation is happening. That's how you scale a business. Not by doing new things, it's about doing more of the things that work at a higher volume. So at this moment, there's your quick formula, self-audit.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point too. I think a lot of people get stuck at the implementation phase. Sometimes people get trained on the fact that if I just seek out more information, if I'm learning, then things are going to get better. But you can't just learn, you have to implement what you learned. And so not trying to think about not getting stuck just in that learning phase and just researching more and looking for, I need to find out more information about this, more information about that. Just a lot of times you have the information you need. You just need to think about how you can actually implement it and use it. I think that a lot of people get blocked at that step.
I 100% agree. Here's the strange thought. If you've ever met someone in your entrepreneurial life that has a significant amount more success than you. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's intelligence. They know something you don't. But if you've met that, and a lot of us have, we've met that person that has a lot more success, however you define success, whatever. But you're like, this person's not smarter than me. They don't know something I don't know. In fact, I think I know stuff they don't know. And it's like confusing for your brain. Those are the people who live in perpetual implementation and it doesn't matter how much they know or don't know, or how perfect they are at this, that, or the other thing. They're doing the stuff at a higher volume than other people. That's generally what it is that we see, which is a little bit of a gut punch sometimes when you realize that about yourself. You're like, shit, I could be where this person is, but they're out implementing, right? They're not out working. It's not about working harder. It's about just staying focused on implementation. So I think you're right. A lot of people do get stuck there. And in the end, once you implement, there's a book called, instead of, what's it called? Ready, Fire, Aim. That's a good book actually to read. It's like, you got to fire first and then aim as you're going. Like, fix it once you're going, rather than waiting too long to get something of it happening. So when in doubt, if you're listening to this and you're like, shit, I should probably get a Google ad up. You know how you do it? Just do it this afternoon. Start putting a Google ad up. And you get stuck, ring up a coach who come help you with it or whatever. So,
and we always say done is better than perfect, right? So
done is better than perfect.
We say that a lot. But I have a lot of clients that have come to me over the years where they're like, I've done this training and I did this, and then I did this training, and then I did this seminar, and then I did this. And it's like, okay, great. And then now what changes have you made in your business based on those? None. You know, you get stuck. People get stuck with that implementation. Yeah. And that's where coaching can help. We're not just giving you, like you mentioned in the beginning, we're not just giving you information and saying, go do it. And then the business owner never does it. We're giving you information and helping you to implement it along the way, instead of just saying,
100%.
just go off on your own and do it.
100%. With that being said, here's the thought, right? It's the idea of satiation. And I learned this in yoga, actually. Like, you can do stretching for 30 minutes or whatever, but that's not the same as doing a really good yoga class. I feel good after stretching for 30 minutes, but after doing like a 90-minute hot yoga class, I'm satiated. I'm full for the rest of the day or longer even, right? It's like you eat a steak versus you eat a carrot. They're both delicious maybe, but which one keeps you full longer? When you are talking about building business, and this is a kind of proven concept in a lot of psychology, planning out what you're going to do, thinking about the strategy, thinking about and projecting the outcome, and visioning, for many people checks the dopamine response enough that they're already finished.
Yeah.
They already feel satiated, that then they stop. And that's why you get stuck not implementing. Which is why when you coach with a YC coach, their job is to help you plan out the tasks and then keep you accountable moving forward towards them, and help you actually do them, stepping in where it could be as simple as like, we're not getting an email written. Fine. Let's write the email right now. Like, whatever it is to focus on the action of doing it, because that's eating the more satiating thing. And the hard part is that as an entrepreneur, I've experienced this myself in the past, and I think a lot of people who've been in the game for a while have. You find yourself stuck in this perpetual search for the more thing. I just want the quick hit for the dopamine. I want the quick satiation, but then to stay satiated, you need more of it. So you do this course and you buy this thing and you hire that person, you do all this stuff, when it's like, actually, no, you just need one, and then to really implement it for a while. And on the backside of that, you've forgotten that you feel even better still. So you've actually forgotten how good it can feel to get something done. So when you're coaching with the YC coaches, like, that's the goal. We talk about, here's the issue. We need more people coming in. Let's run Google ads. Cool. That's just the idea. Then we have to map out the entire thing. Then we have to make the checklist. Then we have to actually go and do it. Then we have to go and check on it. Then we have to optimize it. Then we have to add the second one in. Then we have to make sure the budget's there. Then we have to scale it up. It's not just the first step. So that's having someone in your corner, making sure that you get all the way through that way to really actually get to that deeper, more satiating place that you're looking for in your business.
Yep.
Excellent. Kay says, mic drop. It's a sign that we're done. All right. Have a great weekend, you guys. Keep plugging. When in doubt, teach great yoga, great customer service. Go online and talk about how awesome you are every day. That's it. There's your formula for January to keep going. We'll come in and talk next week. Leave your comments down below. What do you think about January and this conversation, running ads? Where do you need help with that? Let us know what's going on. We do read them after the fact. We will come in and post more videos and stuff on it. If you are in the California area and you can get to Pasadena tomorrow, come to visit our booth 303. I don't know, 30 something. You'll find us. We'll be the noisy, annoying people there at the Yoga Expo at the Pasadena Conference Center, I believe it's called. That's it for now. Have a great rest of your weekend. Peace. Go do some yoga.